Well, joining us now is Wale Oyikoya in the studio here to talk about this. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast. Well, this National Livestock Transformation Plan is meant to end the disputes between farmers and herders. But in your view, is this really the way to go? Because there were issues surrounding Ruga settlement initially, and then we now have this livestock transformation plan. Is there a difference in the first place, and will this solve the problem?
They are more or less like the same thing, but definitely it's going to really ease the tensions between the farmers and the herders. And if you look at what the Ruga means, it's like the rural grazing area. Because of the agitation of people that they are trying to take their farmland and give it to the herdsmen, that's why the federal government come with the National Livestock Transformations Plan, which to me is a very good way to go because it's going to add value to some of these livestock. You have to understand that farming and agriculture is two aspects, planting, the crops and the livestock. So in taking care of the livestock, it's like more or less introducing protein into our diet in the country, apart from all the carbohydrate we've been talking about that's causing all kinds of diseases. So to me, it's a very good way to go. And if the government can really be sincere with it, and you know the problem of always the government is always the implementation of some of these policies. Yeah. Another person will come up and just yank it off, and then we have to start all over again.
Okay, while you think it's a good plan, a lot of people, some people have said that it's an offshoot of the Ruga plan, just the name change. And of course, they believe that the same issues that happened, the farmer-herder clash that has been happening, might still happen, that it will not change anything. I
differ to agree on that one. If you look around us, we have Rugas all over. If you look at most of the places, we have what we call this Kara. It's right here in Lagos, right in Lagos. It's everywhere. So it's more or less like modernizing what we really have, and at the same time, adding value maybe from the abattoirs or getting milk from it, and at the same time creating more employment. So, but I'm expecting more states to really buy into it. We should be able to leave the central, the federal government alone. What about the state? Because the state have the right of ownership of most of the lands, and the federal government cannot just come into any state and yank their farmland without the inputs of the state government. So I'm expecting this thing is really concentrated in the north. What about in the south? I feel like if you look at most of this cattle, most of this cow, it's still coming down to the south. So why can't we have the same thing in the southwest? This is why I'm challenging most of the southwest governors. They should form a team. They should form a synergy. If you look at most of the southwest, they're all linked to each other. Lagos, Ogun, Oyo, Osun, Ekiti.
Oyo is part of the pilot states.
No, yeah, it's part of it, but mostly now it's concentrated in the northeast and the northwest. So I'm thinking that the southwest governors also should be able to tap into it, because it's about 100 billion that is injected into it, and I believe we should be able to benefit from it.
We'll see how that goes over time. Thank you so much, Wale Oyikoya, for your time on TVC Breakfast. Well, joining us now is Wale Oyikoya, MD, CEO, Bama Farms Limited. Good morning. Thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Well, I say happy World Food Day.
Happy World Food Day. We're expecting that you come with some items.
Yeah, it's in the calendar.
Okay. All right, now let's talk about the National Livestock Transformation Plan. The government is to spend about 100 billion naira. And although the government would be contributing about 80% of that amount, and the state government who are interested will contribute 20%. But some have said that looking at the economic situation on the ground, that is so much to be spent on this intervention by the government.
Well, I don't think it's too much with the population that we have in the country. You have to understand that in the 60s, 70s, we used to have about 40 to 50 million population, but now you talk about 200 million. So definitely, how much is 100 billion? So far, the money is going to be injected to the right thing, as they have said, and as long as the policy is going to be well implemented, not that, but it's not going to be like money for the boys or for the carbers or for the non-political farmers. To me, the 20% from the states is what we call counterpart funds.
Yes.
And in the past, we used to have this kind of program coming in. And most of the state governors always shy away. That is why you see most of these policies are not being implemented well, because supposing the federal government put down their 80%, and you are supposed to put down your 20% plus land. Now to put down the 20%, they say they don't have no money, and the money will have to go back.
Yeah, because most of the states have, are indebted, and so that would be stretching them.
How could they get indebted? See, the problem we keep on having is that the federal government keep on spoon-feeding these people. Any state should be able to generate their own revenues. Why should they have to be going to the center to collect this money? It made the state governors being lazy, because we have so much arable land surrounding us. What is wrong with us if we are able to put some of these tractors, mechanizations into this arable land that is just lying there? We should be able to create more employment and wealth through agriculture. And that's what we used to do in the 50s and the 60s. But because of the oil boom, everything just went comatose. So what I'm really expecting for the federal government is to go back to the state. They have a lot to do, not just depending on the federal. If they can be able to harness the proper channels of what we have in the states, we shouldn't be having problem for state not being able to pay the salaries of their staff.
Some of these states are not too... So for instance, how will a state like Lagos provide land? Or a state like Port Harcourt, River State, or Abuja, or some states that are very buoyant, so to speak, where we have a lot of economic activities. How do you think they will cope?
They can cope through value chains.
Okay.
Everybody doesn't have to go into farming, like cultivations. Lagos alone have enough land to do processing, which is what we call value chain. They can bring some of this cow, which is exactly what they are doing. If you go to Abattoir now, they are killing more than 10,000 cows a day. So that way, they can add value. Let all these things come. If you look at most of the consumptions, it's basically in Lagos with over 20 million. So what they can do is to really add value. And by adding value, a lot of youth will be engaged.
Okay.
A lot of marketing will come in. And a lot of export will even come into the neighboring African nations. So to me, there's no state that
can't be part of this program. All right, we have to leave it here at this point. Wale Oyikoya, thank you for your time on TVC Breakfast.